Nearly 11 months into the war in Ukraine, a senior Ukrainian official in the east says the armed forces are in control of current positions, but moving forward is very difficult because the Russians have brought up substantial reserves. Ukrainian forces have been trying to advance on the city of Kreminna in the Luhansk region in the hopes of regaining the Russian-held cities of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. CNN's Ben Wiedemann reports from eastern Ukraine on a group of volunteers trying to help civilians near the front lines.
Down a well-trodden path, Anatoly heads toward home, perhaps for the last time. Sasha, a travel agent turned volunteer, will help him collect what he can for the journey to Kyiv. It's time to be with family. I want to see my grandchildren. I have 4, Anatoly says, and my son just got drafted. Neighbors will look after his chickens, goats, and dog. That's all, he says. Let's go, guys. They'll start shelling now. He's leaving with a group of young Ukrainians who deliver food and supplies to soldiers, frontline communities, and evacuate those who want to leave. They've had close calls aplenty. Says Sasha, in Bakhmut, cluster bombs fell all around us, but we ducked. God protected us. A year ago, Alexander managed a car parts store.
And when the war started since February 2022, we come together and take one bus and gather some foods, some stuffs, and make our visits to hot points.
And hot these points are. They venture through villages still under fire, ravaged by months of shelling. They've come to this village looking for people. They heard reports that 27 were still here. So far, though, they haven't found any. Finally, they find a door marked people. The people have been hiding in a shelter. The volunteers quickly get to work, no time to waste. We're always in the basement, says Svetlana. We go there as soon as they start shelling, especially in the last days. It's very, very hard. Olha owned a cafe near Kyiv, but left it to be here. She prefers to keep her mother in the dark. I don't always tell her where I go because she's worried for my life, she says, but we go anyway. In another village, they're evacuating Stepan, who's suffering from frostbite, or so he believes. He hasn't seen a doctor. I was putting up with the pain, but now it hurts when I walk and I can't get any treatment here, he says. There are no doctors, no hospital, so I asked my daughter in Holland to help me. In the evening, his daughter, Nadia, meets him outside a hospital in nearby Sloviansk. Her relief says it all. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Eastern Ukraine.
Foreign ministers from the EU will meet to discuss the war in Ukraine and their support for the country. This coming as Ukrainian officials continue to urge the West to provide them with the German-made Leopard 2 tanks, which Poland has already actually offered up. And on Sunday, Germany's foreign minister said her government would not stand in the way if Poland wants to supply them. But so far, Berlin has been hesitant to supply tanks from its own arsenal. At a summit in Paris, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said all decisions on weapons delivery would be made in coordination with allies.
We have constantly expanded our supply with very effective weapons that are already available today. And we have always closely coordinated all these decisions with all our important allies and friends. With France, for example, with the USA, for example, with other countries in Europe, and of course, with all those who are involved in this discussion.
At the same summit, French President Emmanuel Macron said his country hasn't ruled out supplying its own Leclerc tanks to Ukraine, but he said the delivery must not escalate the situation. It should include enough training for Ukrainians and must not weaken France's own defence. Now, even as Ukraine continues urging allies to send heavy tanks and other modern equipment, the front lines of Russia's war have already turned into a testing ground of sorts for Western weapons and tactics, giving nations around the world an opportunity to study how systems perform under real-world conditions. Joining me now, Seth Jones is the Director of the International Security Program at the Centre for Strategic and International Studies, and a good person to talk to on all of this. So just how closely have other nations been watching this war, purely in terms of learning lessons for future wars that they might fight, to see how they might have to adapt weaponry and tactics?
It's a great question, Michael. I've talked recently to senior officials in Europe and in the Pacific, from countries like Australia, Japan, South Korea, Finland, and the Baltic states. What they have repeatedly told me is this is an incredible case study for how to conduct warfighting in an industrial-style war. So they've looked at the use of drones. They've looked at how to do logistics, get spare parts or spare munitions or petroleum, oil lubricants into vehicles in a contested environment. They've looked at long-range fires and the need for precision munitions. So, interesting talking to senior officials in and around Taiwan, too. It's a slightly different scenario and different geographic area, but huge lessons there on all these issues.
Yeah, well, and without getting into the weeds, I guess, but what weapons have stood out as a big and perhaps surprising success, and what perhaps haven't performed as well as some might have expected?
Well, I think there are two types on the surprising side. One for me has been air defense. After watching the Russians perform admirably in Syria, the Ukrainian S-300s, the Stingers, the NASAMS, the Hawks have made it virtually impossible for the Russians to fly aircraft in Ukraine, which is an extraordinary, difficult situation for them. The other, which we can get into more detail as well, is the drones. And not just for strike or intelligence collection, but also for information operations, electronic warfare, targeting for other systems to conduct strike. It's what we call combined arms. And then on stuff that hasn't worked well, cyber, we expected the Russians to be much more effective on the cyber side. They have not been.
Yeah, it's interesting with drones. I mean, as you say, for being used in an offensive way, an observational way, but also we've seen all those videos of grenades being dropped literally on top of Russians in their bunkers by drones. I guess it's not just weapons performance on display, but tactics as well. What lessons might have been learned so far? Certainly one example, Ukraine trusts commanders down the chain on the ground to make decisions and act independently. The Russians do not.
Right. One of the things we've seen is much like the U.S. military, which has non-commissioned officers, the Ukrainians in many of their units do, the Russians don't. And one of the challenges that's posed for the Russians is that we don't see as much initiative at lower levels of the Russian military, which has meant that we've seen generals having to move closely to the front lines, and we've seen large numbers of those general officers, Russian killed because they are trying to command so close to the front line. So those non-commissioned officers and the lack of initiative we've seen, lack of non-commissioned officers, lack of initiative with the Russians has been a real debilitating part of their ineffectiveness on the battlefield.
Yeah, and also I guess Ukraine's effective use of dismounted infantry as well, which caught the Russians off guard early on. And I guess to the point you're making, Russia's military was, by and large always taken seriously until this war, feared by many. But has the war sort of laid bare its weak spots and it's failing? I remember when I was in Ukraine, a government official said Russia's not only the second best army in Ukraine, in the world, they're not the second best army in Ukraine.
Well, what's interesting, Michael, I've talked to senior intelligence officials from the United States, from the UK, from Australia, among others. all of whose agencies generally assessed that the Russians had pretty good capabilities, artillery, aircraft, long-range missiles, and they had reasonable doctrine to fight a war like this. But the challenge we see is that it's hard to transition to the qualitative parts that aren't as easy to measure: morale of forces, command and control, initiative, readiness, ability to fight in combined arms. And so there was a lot of overstatement of how the Russians would translate their capabilities into actions on the ground. And at the same time, an underappreciation for a Ukrainian army that was much less well equipped, but how they were actually better on those qualitative components.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, and great that we're able to tap into your expertise. Seth Jones, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Michael.